How's it going, guys? I'm recording this one in advance, so I have no idea what's happening at all in the past 2 days. All I know is I have a match for you against another Tumblr follower of mine. It wasn't really orchestrated at all. It was just like he sent me a challenge, and I was like, cool. I'm not playing anybody right now, so I might as well. This is the first game. I also rotated out Arcanine and Mawile for Houndoom and Hitmontop just to get some spinners going on. And I kind of want to say this team's a little bit balanced. It's not terrible. It's probably not going to be winning me a lot of games, but I'm having fun with it as with the current build right now. I take out Noivern, and I'm probably going to need a faster U-turn if I want to keep up that Volturn momentum. But I don't think I've really figured it out yet. It's something I'll work on, but this is probably going to be one of the last matches you'll see Noivern. We'll leave that one on the shelf for later. I do see Klefki, and I know what this thing does. I know it has the T-Wave. I know it has all of the other shenanigans going on with it. So I figure I might as well bring this thing in. That way I can be immune to the Thunder Wave, which is something I absolutely love about Gen 6. This little new guy can also not be paralyzed as well. I'm going to go for a T-Bolt right now because I want to see what else is on his set before I Volt Switch, because I know he's probably going to end up subbing in the first place to gauge and see how much damage it does. It turns out he actually decides to switch right now. I think I might have just gone for a T-Bolt on this one, and then I'm going to end up going for a Volt Switch on the next turn. Life Orb Heliolisk does a pretty good amount to Sylvia, and I don't know if that's an offensive one or a defensive one. It's probably an offensive one, just based on the fact that I just did half to this thing. I did over 75% with a combination T-Bolt and Volt Switch, and I'm able to pivot out to something a little bit more appropriate. I know this thing really only gets Fairy Ghost coverage unless you have I completely stuttered on that one. Hidden Power Ground or Fire going on with that thing, which I know a lot of people don't at this time, so I'm just going to go into Aegislash, knowing it's a relatively safe switch. Could potentially get scared off by the Iron Head as well, but I know that he does have a Greninja which can resist the Shadow Sneak, which is really tempting for me to go for, to try to take it out, but I'm actually going to end up going for the Sacred Sword to nail whatever wants to come in with a good solid amount of damage, because I know Sylveon can just Wish Protect and get itself back up to full. It's not completely out of the count yet, but Greninja just comes in and dies just as quick. Just stab it right in the freaking throat. Amazing. Volcarona is a problem, though. This is actually my first time facing one, and I'm slowly realizing that the only real switch-in I have to it is Azumarill. It does resist both of its stabs. The Volcaronas, as of right now, do not have access to Giga Drain, so I'm safe until, like, the 26, and then all of the floodgates break loose. Right here, I believe I wanted to end up going for a... Did I end up going for an Aqua Tail? Or a... I think I might have also ended up going for a Belly Drum. No, I don't remember what I went for. A lot of Volcaronas I've run into don't carry Hurricane, so I was like, okay, he's going to switch, and then I can just get some damage off on something. That's why I didn't go for Aqua Jet. I didn't expect to get hit with a Hurricane, because it's not a very common move. But I get to bring in Heliolisk, go for a Surf, and I just barely fall short of the KO. No, I probably should have Volt Switched, and then just gone into Noivern, because it does resist both the Volcarona stabs, and I could have just taken it out with a Flamethrower, hopefully from that range. So I misplayed that one, but at least the Volcarona's gone. I still have Noivern left, which is fine. It's probably the fastest thing on my team left outside of Houndoom. Why I didn't bring this thing in first is beyond me. It was so silly. I don't want to get T-Waved either, and I've lost my switch in for T-Wave, so I have to go into something that doesn't really mind getting T-Waved, which in this case is going to be my Aegislash. Now, I've seen what Klefki does to Aegislash, so I have to be extremely careful with how I play this, because if he has Foul Play, and he's got T-Wave. Well, if he has T-Wave, that means he's faster than me automatically, even with Foul Play. I don't know how it would work out without it, but I am brave with the 0 speed IV, and I'm designed to be slower than him in the first place, which is not fantastic in this matchup. But he does end up going for a sub. I decide to go for a Sacred Sword to break said sub, and then just try to whittle away at his HP between alternating between Sacred Sword and also King Shield, and then when I deem the moment right, I'll try to fit in a Shadow Sneak in there in order to knock him out. But he's got lefties going on, so I have to play around this very carefully so I don't get foul played in the face and die, because that's what Klefki likes to do to these things. I've been on the other end, as I've said a couple of times. So foul play happens. Foul play is a contact move, so I'm going to drop his attack by 2 stages. I don't know if that has any influence between him using my attack set and then it gets cut in half, or if it cuts his attack in half and then he just takes my stat raw. So I don't know how much that actually ends up mattering, but I have to read this Klefki very carefully. So decide to go for Sacred Sword right now as he subs, and predicting him to want to predict my King Shield again, I'm actually going to go for another Sacred Sword to attempt to break the sub. Hopefully don't get paralyzed throughout all of this, And it's really, I really like Aegislash's design because you can play it exactly like a sword. You can, you know, you can jump forward and you can slice, or you can parry, or you can just get yourself in a better position with Swords Dance, or you can go for the lunge with like the Sacred Sword. I think it's, or Shadow Sneak, I should say. It's actually pretty cool the way it just translates on the battlefield like that. But I go for another Sacred Sword because I predict him to substitute once again. And then now that he's at a pretty low amount of HP, I think now that both of these types don't resist Shadow Sneak. Steel used to, not anymore. He's at a good range where I can just go for a Shadow Sneak and knock him out. And that worked out perfectly. I was in awe that I didn't mispredict any of that, and I just didn't end up getting foul played. So I get to keep my Aegislash against a physical threat as well that tries to Night Slash me and gets an attack drop from King Shield as well. So I see Night Slash. I also see Toxic Spikes. It's a regular old Drapion. I have nothing to fear from it. It's probably an offensive build. I don't know. Otherwise, I probably would have gotten Whirlwinded out by now, I assume. And I am correct in that I do see Hone Claws. This other move is probably just a Poison Stab, which is why he hasn't gone for it. But he does get a layer of Toxic Spikes off. I'm not too concerned with it for now. But I decided to go for a Sacred Sword, I believe, after a +2. Almost knocks him out. As much as I want to go for a Shadow Sneak, he does resist it, and Drapion is very naturally bulky on the defensive side. Well, not terribly, but it's typing combined with, I don't know, it doesn't suck on the physical defensive side, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't think a Shadow Sneak will knock it out from there. I don't want to chance it either. So he's going to go for another Hone Claws, as I believe I try to go for another Sacred Sword, and I think I end up getting paralyzed on this one. Although my stance does change, I kind of choke on stage, and I don't want to take a Night Slash. So the King Shield is really obvious, but I have to go for it. I don't mind the lefty slash Black Sludge recovery he's getting because I know I can knock him out with another Sacred Sword. He can go for as many Hone Claws as he wants and ends up going for a Night Slash. If he crits, that'll suck, but that's my battle plan right now, that I have to just King Shield until I can get a Sacred Sword off and knock him out. So goes for a Night Slash because of the King Shield I got off earlier. This is a neutral Night Slash on me, and he's not a Life Orb variant, so it doesn't hurt as bad as I thought it would. And I'm able to just knock him out with another Sacred Sword, which is fantastic. The sword's doing his thing. How long I can keep it up, I have absolutely no idea. But I do remember that he still has a Noivern left. Noivern likes to carry Flamethrower. It's not something I'm looking forward to, but it is something that I do want to scout for nonetheless. So I decided to go for the King Shield to see what he's got up his arsenal. So it's going to have Draco. It's probably going to have Flamethrower. It could have U-Turn. It could also have Switcheroo. That would have been a pretty nasty situation if he decided to do that through the King Shield. But I did see a Flamethrower. So my battle plan right here, I believe, is to go for a Sacred Sword to get some previous damage off, and then go for a Shadow Sneak. Or I just end up, no, Swords Dance, never mind, forget it. I guess I figured I could take a stock Flamethrower from the range of HP I'm at, and I'm pretty close to full, so I'm pretty sure I can take a Flamethrower even from Specs 1 at that range. But just to get to go for a Shadow Sneak right here and knock him out, so it's pretty basic stuff. Aegislash is doing some good work, but that's not to say I didn't have to work for it with that Klefki, because the reason I EV'd a Klefki was to deal with Aegislash. I know how those operate, being on the other end for so long. It's different to read it, but it's something you can do. And it turns out I didn't get enough Shadow or Swords Dances up, because it actually ends up living with a very, very, very small chunk, and I still have the resistance to it, which is nice, but I now have only like base 50 special defense, so it does do a pretty good chunk. On top of that, I get paralyzed. I tried to go for another Shadow Sneak to finish it off, but I just ended up choking again. And on top of that, he gets the confusion on this one. So things are not looking good for Aegislash. This is my fault for trying to keep up the Shadow Sneak 3 times in a row. I thought I'd be able to. I had reasonable odds to get away with it, and then it turns out I just knock myself out after trying to go for Shadow Sneak like 3 times in a row. And I figure at this point, I might as well just bring in my Houndoom and then show off the Mega, because I hadn't used it at all yet, and I wanted to use it really badly. The only reason I didn't bring in my own Noivern as well is because I actually noticed that it is 250 and speed of 252, and I have the EVs misplayed somewhere, so it's actually slower than other timid Noiverns, which is bad. That's bad days. And I'm able to live the Hurricane, which is nice, but he also gets off another Confusion. But thankfully, I'm able to just knock it out with a Flamethrower. So, Aegislash, MVP for that game. Doing a lot of work. Probably one of my favorite 6th Gen Pokemon by far. And that's the game. So, Kind of hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you can leave a like rating, comment, and subscribe, and do your thing. I'll do my best to get some material going on this weekend, and we'll see how next weekend decides to pan out. Although the closer we get to Christmas, the less I'm probably going to end up uploading because I'll be working a fuck ton. So we'll see how that pans out, and I'll catch you guys on the next one whenever that happens to be. Goodbye.